Hello again. After the success of our last symposium, I, Wilton Stonestride, have once again been tasked with putting my skills as an arbalist to the test by helping you fine villagers decide which bow is right for you. As the bow is a necessary weapon for rangers, elves, and others, it is important to understand the uniqueness of each one, so as to better assess your success when attempting to pass as yourself when wandering the land alone or with others. The bows we will cover today are the longbow, the short bow, the recurve bow, and the crossbow. Now, the first thing you'll need to determine is if you fancy yourself a horseman, as the use of a horse certainly had an impact on those wanting to carry the bow as a weapon. For those of you who do not, I would recommend considering the longbow. The longbow tends to be a fair bit larger than its other counterparts, generally standing at around 72 inches. The size could be worth it to some as its design is effectively more durable, lighter in weight, and is all around quieter than the other bows as the string does not strike the limb upon release. However, its length can also lead to more difficult shooting depending on where you are and how you like to grip the bow. It also became a very cumbersome item when traveling or fighting from atop the horse, which is where the recurve bow, also known as the horse bow, came into play and has the clear advantage. A smaller and faster bow, the recurve's limbs actually bend away from the archer so as to be able to store and deliver more energy upon release of the string. The detriments in the case of the recurve tend to be the opposite of the long, which are, it is louder, easier to break, and can feel a tad bit heavier. That's not to say that either one is worse than the other, simply that they both have advantages depending on the user. However, if there are some of you who still find either to be a bit oversized to your liking, they both have short bow equivalents as well. These are generally exactly what they are named, short bows, or more specifically, shorter bows, but still in the style of their respective larger siblings. Now, I'm sure there will be some of you who are considering that the longbow's shorter sibling would be ideal for a horse the same way the regular recurve would be. It is smaller, yes, but it is actually still larger than the bigger recurve bow by a small amount. So, the choice is up to you whether it should be your primary horse riding weapon or not. And finally, we return to my favorite of bows, the crossbow. Created many centuries later, the crossbow improves on the bow's power and accuracy while allowing you the advantage of not having to spend as much energy to draw and keep the bow drawn before firing. However, as we've seen, this is not without creating its own detriments. As there are now mechanisms added to your bow, it becomes even heavier than the recurve before it, and even more cumbersome than the longbow before it. It also takes quite a bit longer to reload the crossbow, allowing the enemy to get a second and perhaps even a third shot off before you are ready to fire again. So, all in all, every bow has its uses and their application is entirely up to who you want to be when you are wandering the hillside. Now, as before, I would be remiss if I decided to end today's counseling without requesting that you notch your mouse and let loose your fingers. Not to your coin purse to pay me, but to follow us and subscribe in order to continue receiving such informational symposiums.